Boom. Yeah, it's a crazy night. It's March 11th. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my 33rd birthday. It's a fucking pleasure to be here with you. Holy fuck. Things are happening right now that I never imagined I would see in this lifetime, let alone seeing it like this now. And I think that's probably one of the most interesting aspects of this whole damn thing. I've been, okay, so this is going to be a live stream. I'm going to be talking about, so apparently Trump just banned all travel from Europe into the United States. And these are pretty big moves. He also, in that press release, said that they were going to basically just print money and give it to people, which is known as helicopter money, something we had hypothesized in the financial community for years, never really understanding how one might implement that. This seems like a very interesting situation to implement it to those people who no longer have jobs or have to work from home or can't work from home. Massive amounts of money printing. And you know what? It's really interesting to see how this kind of all comes together. I think that when we had originally, I guess, nothing anyone would want to dream of, but when we originally dreamt of some of these ideas and what it would mean for the financial markets, we didn't necessarily imagine the pandemic. It was always under different circumstances. In my mind, it was much more likely that a solar flare did what we're about to go through, or some crazy shit, right? But it makes sense. There were a bunch of black swans in the sky. One landed. And I think as a society, just as a society in general, we got too comfortable with things being normal, that this isn't a chaotic kind of universe, and things don't just kind of can blow up in your face every now and then. Anyways, we're going to go over some data. I'm really grateful to be here with you guys. It is for my 33rd birthday. We've entered a global pandemic. I remembered on my birthday in 2011 when the Fukushima Daiichi reactor exploded. My birthday has been full of like kind of drastic surprises. So it's always been a fun one to go through. So I'm happy to be sharing that with you guys this evening. This is going to be just a random chant. I know the global pandemic, USA, all travel ban, my fucking birthday, and get ready. What was the point of any of this? Oh yeah, let's start right from this side. I want to give hats off to Costa Rica, not doing the best job, but doing something pretty spectacular here. They came out today, and this is the country that I live in, so I started paying attention to their news. We have 22 identified cases, 165 suspected from one guy. One motherfucker has the R naught of 165. Jesus Christ, that's so high. How is it so high? Anyways, this is what they came out and said. I thought this was great. It says, look, the public health system will offer free treatment for those presenting COVID-19 symptoms. This applies if the patient is uninsured, has irregular immigration records, which basically means anybody. Look, if you're starting to feel sick as a foreign tourist, even Costa Rica will cover it. Now, I do not suspect that this will last very long. Again, he came out here just said afterward we'll see how we manage. Again, saying we'll tend to anyone that presents these symptoms, we want to stomp it out. Now, for those of you that haven't seen this video here, I'll let this play for a minute and we'll skip through. I should have time stamped it, but just take a listen to this. This shit's absolutely astounding. If you haven't seen this yet, I'll just play it all the way through. It's 9 minutes. Maybe I'll pause and interject at times to chat with you guys, but this is fucking crazy. Listen to this.
Today, the World Health Organization officially announced that this is a global pandemic. We have been in frequent contact with our allies, and we are marshaling the full power of the federal government and the private sector to protect the American people. This is the most aggressive and comprehensive effort to confront a foreign virus in modern history. I am confident that by counting and continuing...
Okay, so this is what's crazy here too, is I don't know if you've ever tried to cover up your coughs, but if you try to cover up your cough, he's fucking sick. Did you hear that? Listen to him try to cover up these coughs. He's covering up sickness.
Take these tough measures, we will significantly reduce the threat to our citizens, and we will ultimately and expeditiously defeat this virus. From the beginning of time, nations and people have faced unforeseen challenges, including large-scale and very dangerous health threats.
See, there again, he did it again. He had to pause to cover up that cough that's coming in. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States appears to be sick. Now, I don't want to make any conjecture here, but not too long ago, okay, this is where things start to get crazy, is that the speed of which it moves now will be unprecedented. Look, I pray we're fucking wrong. I pray this is not the case. Let's check this out. So if we go to Twitter here, follow us on Twitter. Why not, guys? It's tons of fun. Look at this. Tom Hanks has coronavirus after, and this is from the New York Times as well. So it's not totally reputable in my personal opinion, but reputable enough to at least say that Tom Hanks has the fucking virus, because that's usually what all the New York Times is good for, is fucking clickbait garbage. Not to totally smash on journalism. There has been good journalism, I'm sure, that's come out of New York Times, but very seldomly, I would imagine. So this is pretty big. So as we go through, the other thing that kind of stomped up and jumped up to me was just some of the things that are going on in this ban. So really quickly, I'll roll through. Again, the United States is not the only country taking these measures. El Salvador, a country just north of us, contains a national quarantine, bans the entry of all foreigners, and closes all schools. You know what? They have 0 cases, but look what? They don't want any. That's fucking brilliant. I don't know why the other countries have taken so long to do that shit, but hats off, El Salvador. Good fucking job. Just fucking close everything down and say, look, let's fucking figure this shit out, because we are not equipped to deal with these types of ICU numbers. We should have fucking known that from day one. So hats off to you, El Salvador. I'll let the rest of this play. It's just so crazy. Some videos you guys are buffering, so bear with me here. Again, this is just my I turned 33 today. This is my birthday rant, guys. I just thought this was pressing, so let's keep listening to this.
This is the way it always was and always will be. It only matters how you respond, and we are responding with great speed and professionalism. Our team is the best anywhere in the world. At the very start of the outbreak, we instituted sweeping travel restrictions on China and put in place the first federally mandated quarantine in over 50 years. We declared a public health emergency.
See, again, you can hear Donald Trump trying to cover up his cough. Like, if I'm about to cough right now, and you can hear the voice choke the cough down, and you can do it with training. You can learn how to take the cough up and then choke it down into your throat. This motherfucker is sick right now. I wouldn't be surprised if he has the same rhinovirus I have. Whether he's got COVID-19 or not will be yet to see. But just keep listening to this. This is the craziest shit I've ever heard come out of the government's mouth.
Issued the highest level of travel warning on other countries as the virus spread its horrible infection. And taking early, intense action, we have seen dramatically fewer cases of the virus in the United States than are now present in Europe. The European Union failed to take the same precautions and restrict travel from China.
See, and then again, guys, remember the WHO came out today, decided to declare as fuck global pandemic so late into the game. This should have been done day one. It's worth panicking over. I don't know how many people I saw on Facebook like, oh, you're just panicking. It's not no worse than the fucking flu. Look, guys, this is a virus we have no experience with. We should have panicked right from day one, because that's the smarter thing to do, because we don't fucking know anything, right? I'm happy playing in a world where I don't know anything, but we should play that way, especially if we're a global community. So I do hope that and I know that there's positive outcomes of this over the future ahead of us. But it's just one of these moments where what we have to go through is understanding the severity of the situation, and to have waited this long. Look, Ecuador just smashed out of the park. Hey guys, you know what? First, no cases, just fuck everyone off. Like, fuck off. We'll figure this out. Bring it to 0, because that's how the only way you manage something like this is to bring the R0 below 1, and it's currently maybe at like 165 or something crazy. Look at this. Tuesday afternoon, and this is from Costa Rica, health authorities identified 165 people who are suspected having the coronavirus, all from this one guy. This one motherfucker. It's just so crazy. We don't know what this looks like in the long run, ladies and gentlemen. So part of this, I wanted to roll through some of my thoughts and sentiments here. So I'll just keep letting this play because it's a long video. So thank you guys for bearing with me on my birthday here.
And other hotspots. As a result, a large number of new clusters in the United States were seeded by travelers from Europe. After consulting with our top government health professionals, I have decided to take several strong but necessary actions to protect the health and well-being of all Americans, to keep new cases from entering our shores.
See, just to jump out here, what they're doing is the proper reaction. It's the way you should panic, which is to take fucking decisive action. Let's see here. Buzz Killian. Panic does nothing. You don't know anything about living in the real world then. I tell you what panic does. It wakes you up to the fucking fear of reality. And as soon as you hit that moment of panic, this is what happens. If you don't know anything, yeah, your panic will appear fucking stupid. But if you're well managed and well informed, your panic turns into something productive. You actually start working to provide for those around you, look for ways to help make a fucking difference, right? So panic is that initial moment when you go, holy fuck, this is serious. Well, what next? When you have an uninformed society, yeah, panic looks stupid because people don't know what the fuck to do. They run out and buy toilet paper like fucking idiots because no one is telling them anything valuable whatsoever. And that's one of the big deals here, is that understanding what's important in these moments is not being distributed through any of the mainstream media content providers. The best stuff I have seen are from like basically investigative private journalists / medical professionals, or people that just like researching for any fucking without a shadow of a doubt, are just interested to learn more. And that's what's so crazy about this, is that panic negatively is uninformed fear. Properly informed fear lets you know how to prepare for something that's very difficult to deal with. I think, and again, this is, what's interesting. What El Salvador did here, just by declaring a national quarantine, is the right fucking thing to do. Because look, you don't know jack shit. None of us do. And until you realize we live in a universe where you really don't know a whole fucking lot about anything, you're going to have a hard time understanding the perception of an exponential curve, right? Because you won't understand the amount of unknowns that there are when you start to exist in an infinite, which is what we consider this universe to be, even from the most principles of mathematical aesthetics, essentially. It's crazy. And the other thing I want to point out to here is that nobody owes you anything. Like, I just want to give you the heads up here that you should really clearly understand at this moment in time that you are not owed anything by this world. And I'll say this again, you owe the world for being here. This miracle of a moment, you need to be paying it back. I feel very, very, very strongly about the sentiments here. So what we do when we don't have informed panic is we make stupid decisions, as we're seeing the most of the public do right now. So if we go back in and we listen to the rest of this here.
We will be suspending all travel from Europe to the United States for the next 30 days. The new rules will go into effect Friday at midnight.
Okay, so Friday at midnight, ladies and gentlemen, anyone coming from Europe to the United States will be banned from entry. These are pretty big taglines, and there are multiple versions of them in this 9-minute piece. So we're going to go through it all together, and I was going to reiterate, because even me, I'm like, wait, I should give me a pen and paper. Like, holy fuck, the amount of shit that he's saying right now is like, we couldn't even, if one of those things happened a little while ago, it would have gone over very, very obscurely. So let's keep listening here.
These restrictions will be adjusted subject to conditions on the ground. There will be exemptions for Americans who have undergone appropriate screenings, and these prohibitions will not only apply to the tremendous amount of trade and cargo, but various other things as we get approval. Anything coming from Europe to the United States is what we are discussing. These restrictions will also not apply to the United Kingdom. At the same time, we are monitoring the situation in China and South Korea, and as their situation improves, we will reevaluate the restrictions and warnings that are currently in place for a possible early opening. Earlier this week, I met with the leaders of health insurance.
Okay, so this is where he starts to get into some of the financial implications here, and these are huge. Again, in the financial sector, we have to remember the importance of what he's about to say right now. I swear, get a pen and pen. Like, there's just like note after note. These motherfuckers are throwing out shit we would have only at one at a time fucking been baffled by. So listen to this.
Industry, who have agreed to waive all co-payments for coronavirus treatments, extend insurance coverage to these treatments, and to prevent surprise medical billing. We are cutting massive amounts of red tape to make antiviral therapies available in record time. these treatments will significantly reduce the impact and reach of the virus.
Okay, so I want to interject here because this is something I'm actually really excited about, is these treatments. You know, for a lot of you that know me personally, you know how deep my interest has always lied in the world of like pharmacology, the whole multidisciplinary approach to understanding consciousness or vibration, if we wanted to even put a broader fucking spectrum stroke on it. But what we're hearing right now, I think, is important to understand, because I believe that there is a wave of change in medicine that's going to take place from these events. For those of you that know how science works, we're normally like 20 to 30 years ahead of where we are right now, except we don't have the clinical peer-reviewed paper to back a lot of it up. Some of it, which is garbage. Look, there's a lot of like naturopathy that's just fucking garbage. Like, if it doesn't hold up under scrutiny, it's just garbage. I don't give a fuck how much you believe in it. If we can't use it at scale, no matter what religion you are, this is important. What you believe shouldn't make a fucking difference on how the medicine interacts. We do know that the mind is extremely powerful. But going into that also means that if something's going to work, it's going to work regardless of if you're even necessarily conscious to appreciate it. So these alternative treatments like vitamin C as intravenous doses, we've actually seen recently from the Journal of American Medical Association. Is this it right here? I wonder if I'm going to open it up. No, this is the coronavirus one. More than just the cold. Yeah, more than the fucking cold is right. Jesus Christ, guys. That's an understatement. January 23rd. We've had a lot of time, guys. We've been, look, this is, I had this open. So here we go. Lack of benefit of high dose vitamin C. So this is actually one of the articles that we had looked at. But what's interesting here is that even though this particular trial shows a lack of benefit for SOFA, if you read the full text of this article, it says that for sepsis and ARDS, which are both common symptoms of COVID-19. So let's just get this straight here, because I'm in a ranting mode. It's my birthday. You have a virus called SARS-CoV-2. When you get that virus and it infects your cells and you progress down the symptomatic scale of that virus, you get a disease known as COVID-19. COVID-19 has a few very noticeable effects. One of them is known as ARDS, or acute respiratory distress syndrome. Look at me go on fire right now, ladies and gentlemen. And if you read the full text of this, vitamin C intravenously in high doses actually is very effective for reducing not only the ICU care time, but also decreasing the mortality rate. Those were accidental finds. So even though this article says it didn't fit their meetings, because what they wanted to do was prove that it could change SOFA scores. And this is one of the fucking redundant, annoying aspects about trying to be in touch with medicine on a quick basis, is that these new treatments are not clinically peer reviewed. And when they are, they have to go out on this kind of sideways angle, because it's a lot of data to present at once. So vitamin C, chaga mushrooms, vitamin D. There's a bunch of these things. Zinc with chloroquine actually has been one of the awesome ones too. So Hopkins guides. So this is kind of an interesting. I'm sorry I jump around so much, guys. It's just crazy how much energy this brings out. I cried a little earlier. I mean, that was maybe like a bit of a different story, but John Hopkins guides coronavirus. Where is coronavirus? It should be at the top here. Come on, guys, make this easier. There we go. Coronavirus, SARS-CoV-2. Okay, so what's interesting here is that if you go into some of the clinical studies, and we've seen this too on MedCram. If you guys study MedCram's work, or any of these doctors that are doing amazing work studying the peer-reviewed literature as it comes out, but note again, we can't get it out quick enough. This shit's moving way too quickly. So here you have this very interesting sentiment. Was the treatment lines from antivirals. Although none currently exist, a large number of antivirals and immunomodulators have been investigated. Caution, obviously, whether they're effective or not, because these are not like double-blind, placebo-controlled randomized tests. This is just, let's try shit and see if it makes a difference, even anecdotally, because if there's an anecdotic evidence, it means we can potentially try to follow that, because we just don't have the time to fuck around here. There's no way we're going to make a vaccine for this anytime quickly. So what Donald Trump here is saying is that they're now looking into these alternative these alternative therapies. And this is the really where it gets really interesting, and they've taken is chloroquine. So again, for those of you guys that have been doing your homework and your research, you'll know a lot about zinc, and the fact that zinc will stop most viral infections from the get-go because of a polymerase or replicase reaction on the proteins. This is what we suspect the mechanism of chaga is on this particular virus as well, as it may actually stop the protease replication, or the replicase as they call it. So chloroquine allows your body to soak up a bunch of zinc into the cells, again, which is effectively stopping the RNA virus. So very briefly, layman's terms, but from what I understand is that you have a coronavirus, which means it's an enveloped virus, first off. So the RNA data of the virus, which is like how the disease replicates, is hidden inside like a little cell pocket. And on the outside of the cell pocket, there's these little spike proteins, which are little amino acids. And when the body and your cells find those amino acids, it takes them in, and it ends up basically like if your cell could digest the RNA. So it gets this new sequence and it starts repeating this viral sequence. So the virus basically interrupts your regular cellular function and produces a different genetic like code, essentially, right? So it's an RNA, which is again different DNA, unimportant, but the real purpose of this is chloroquine allows your body to take up zinc into the like macrophage level. I think I said that right. Again, I'm not an epidemiologist. None of this is health or medical advice. I'm just showing you guys what I've found and what I think might be valuable if you have anyone that ends up in the hospital, or if you might have to treat other people yourself. I have no fucking clue how bad this may or may not get. I'm praying that it does not get bad, but the evidence does not look good for that so far. So chloroquine, which is a very common anti-malarial drug, anywhere here in South and Central America, you can get this shit for so cheap, pennies. And this is a lot of the data that we're getting out of Korea too, is that check the numbers based off the data for the Korean clinical studies. I don't speak Korean, so it's going to be hard for me to rip that up right now, but this is where it's coming from on the Hopkins data. So again, what we want to understand is that panic is only a bad option if you're uninformed, and the CDC and the WHO are not doing a good fucking job of giving this information out, because first off, this can't be medical advice because we don't know if it works. It's just anecdotally we could assume that it works because of things we've seen in peer-reviewed studies of zinc and vitamin C and chloroquine to begin with. Chloroquine is already a functioning antiviral medication, right? We've seen this actually with another one here. I don't know if it's on this list, but it was another, I think maybe it's remdesivir. It was called remdesivir. I believe it's an anti-HIV drug, and it stops this RNA replicase and this protease reaction. So if we were getting better information, people would know what to do in panicking, and they wouldn't be running to buy toilet paper. They'd be trying to effectively help build businesses that make the difference in these times right now. If you go to the FDA website, and this is one of the concerning things right now, is that if you look at all the drug shortages that they have, this turns into pages and pages of currently in shortage. Look at this. Most of this page is currently in shortage. Page 1. Page 2, currently in shortage. Page 3, currently in shortage. Page 4, currently in shortage. 6, currently in shortage. Most of the page 6. Okay, there we go. Almost all of them are currently in shortage, right? And this is what's important to understand, is that we have a massive list of drugs now that are not being produced in these countries. So how do we offset this panic? And this is the reason why I think the CDC has been lying to us, is because they know there's not a whole fucking lot that they can do, but they should have been way better at stopping this in its tracks before it got too crazy. It's wild to me to see, we hope for the best. I don't like doing these videos in terms of, there's a lot of negative connotations that come along with understanding this data, but sometimes the truth is painful, but it's a hell of a lot more effective to be well informed and going over what you think is the right thing to do. So we'll keep watching this video because it's just fucking crazy, guys.
Additionally, last week I signed into law an $8.3 billion funding bill to help CDC and other government agencies fight the virus and support vaccines, treatments, and distribution of medical supplies. Testing capabilities are expanding rapidly day by day. We are moving very quickly. The vast majority of Americans, the risk is very, very low. young and healthy people can expect to.
Okay, so here's the crazy part about this sentiment. I think a lot of people kind of skip over. First off, if you're young, doesn't really matter, right? Yeah, cool. You might not die, but maybe your family might, and that's not the point I want to get to here. It's actually comes more clearly when you look at an overwhelmed hospital system. One sec. Hey, sweetie. Do you want to check the brownies?
Huh?
Oh, do you want to check on the brownies?
Yeah, that's what I was coming in.
Nice. If they smell like strong.
Yeah.
So, okay.
I set the alarm on my phone.
Sorry about that. I'm not sorry about that. We're making brownies. Yeah, I wonder how many subscribers I'll lose from eating brownies this birthday. Last birthday I had a waffle. Fucking I freak people out no matter what I do. Like there's just no winning some days, I guess. So, the importance of this again, I think, is understanding that the CDC is giving no one useful information. So when we look at their response here, I think they're just trying to quell the storm. Something that should have been done. They should have just locked up all economic trade right from the get-go, because buffering this now I think is going to be a lot more difficult. Let's pray that we can still quarantine it, we can deal with it, it doesn't become a global contagion, because if it does, the younger people will be at risk. And that's really what we are coming back from, is he's saying young people are not at risk, but that's not true. Look, a lot of the time small things might happen, like maybe you break an arm, right? And that's not a big deal. But if you break an arm and now all the hospitals like, no, not really working, like we're seeing in Italy right now, then this might kill. Who knows what happens? It's like you get gangrene 5-6 days later and you're dead from something because there's a massive drug shortage for a very simple, like, let's see, I don't know. I'm not again, remember guys, I'm not a fucking epidemiologist here. I'm just shooting in the dark here. Lorazepam, I'm pretty sure that's not it's not an anti it's probably actually an antidepressant or something ridiculous. Who cares about that one? But you know what I'm saying, there are a lot of these drugs end up as critical, like amoxapine tablets. I think that's anyways, there's a lot of fucking drugs in shortage right now in the United States. Again, and this is where it could become more critical for the younger patients. People that are maybe, let's say they're like 16 years old and they're going through a kidney dialysis or something like this. We could lose a lot of younger people because of simple, normally treatable injections. As we're seeing in Italy right now, they pretty much say if you're under 60, like, we can't treat you. The hospitals are overwhelmed. And this is from a very well-educated society. So I'll just let Donald Trump keep going here. I know this is crazy, so I apologize. I always want to like present to you guys like better like documented information, like with like a keynote, and here's this and here's that, and I just always run on tangents. Like I think my fire runs on like whatever fuel it can find during the conversation. So I do apologize for it being scattered, and I'm very grateful for you guys joining me on my birthday. I mean, it would be more entertaining if this wasn't the only thing I had to rant about right now. Like if we were just watching Bitcoin at $7,600, that'd be great. But okay, just a few more things from Donald Trump here, because remember, I have never heard so much like each one of these statements, if they came out as an individual statement over 6 months ago when everything was kind of normal, would have fucking blown our minds. So the fact that this is coming out in like a shotgun section here, like, it blows my mind.
To recover fully and quickly if they should get the virus. The highest risk is for elderly population with underlying health conditions. The elderly population must be very, very careful. In particular, we are strongly advising that nursing homes for the elderly suspend all medically unnecessary visits. In general, older Americans should also avoid non-essential travel in crowded areas. My administration is coordinating directly with communities with largest outbreaks, and we have issued guidance on school closures, social distancing, and reducing large gatherings. Smart action today.
See, this is the funny thing. You know, we've been saying this in our videos about a few weeks ago about the importance of masks and just social distancing. These guys are so behind the curve. Yeah, thank you for the birthday wishes, guys. Hey, look, I'm going to take a look at some of your questions here. Again, this is so crazy. I really appreciate all of your support. I know what I've realized too is that,
the spread of the
I've actually, I was a little preponderant, and maybe I'm probably using that word wrong because I'm a little out of it right now. But I was pontificating. There we go. I was pontificating, and I'm so grateful that even though this is a small group of people, it's a group of really well informed, kind of like, let's say, crazies. Like the fringe, the taboo, the far out there, in from the woo to the weird. I'm so grateful for the Bear family and all the spaces that you guys hold in between. You know, I've been watching the subscriber count. Actually, we've been like losing a few hundred subscribers quite consistently. And I was pondering, I was like, well, what am I doing wrong? And then I realized, oh yeah, a lot of the time some of this stuff is just not fun to hear. And look, I'm not right all the time. Like, I'm very, very conscious and conscientious of the fact that I'm often wrong. But to really find out the levels and the depth of the truth that's going on here, we need to take an approach where our beliefs are not as important as the discovery of truth itself. And that is often going to lead to bruised egos and scarred like survival like conversations. That's the point. I think the depth of that is the point. So I just wanted to say thank you for all of you that have been here since we started this show, all the private bear family that support what we do. I know I'm just seriously befuddled right now, guys, bewildered. And I love it. Like, there's a part of me I know that loves it, but there's a part of me that's having a hard time digesting the external consciousness. It feels like it's just some crazy shit. So Trump goes on here, and he can, and again, remember the economic stimulation package is where we're headed to next. Basically, helicopter money.
The virus tomorrow. Every community faces different risks, and it is critical for you to follow the guidelines of your local officials who are working closely with our federal health experts, and they are the best. For all of us, it is essential that everyone take extra precautions and practice good hygiene. Each of us has a role to play in defeating this virus. Wash your hands, clean often used surfaces, cover your face and mouth if you sneeze or cough, and most of all, if you are sick or not feeling well, stay home. To ensure that working Americans impacted by the virus can stay home without fear of financial hardship, I will soon be taking emergency action, which is unprecedented, to provide financial relief. This will be
Okay, so this right here, I'm sorry I didn't write all this down before, and this we'll try to present more clear information, or not. I'll just keep being crazy. Probably the second one. But here, listen to this again. This is fucking huge.
Emergency action, which is unprecedented, to provide financial relief. This will be targeted for workers who are ill, quarantined, or caring for others due to coronavirus. I will be asking Congress to take legislative action to extend this relief.
See, this is a super big deal, guys. We've talked about helicopter money in the past and how they would just print money and kind of give it to everyone. Now, what's interesting here is you have a coalescence of ideas. You have the thing that crashes the system, right? A potential pandemic, and the exacerbation of the printing, which is one of the reasons why we all bought Bitcoin in the first place. Now, look, I don't think Bitcoin will bode well during this. I do suspect that if we see these lockups and freezes, Bitcoin's not going to hold necessarily as high as we would think. I think in the long term, it's going to be worth an astronomical amount more. But at least in the short term, the price is probably going to drop. It could drop as low as $1,000 during all this. We don't know how bad this gets. Depending on the level of fundamental change in your world, this could change everything. Bitcoin's price would fall dramatically if that were the case. So we really have to keep a close eye on this evolving situation, because technicals are out the fucking window when they're printing everything will go unvetted at this point. Right? The next thing he comes out to say, which, and this is crazy too, is that, hey, we won't even necessarily charge you taxes this year.
Because of the economic policies that we have put into place over the last 3 years, we have the greatest economy anywhere in the world by far. Our banks and financial institutions are fully capitalized and incredibly strong. Our unemployment is at a historic low. This vast economic prosperity gives us flexibility, reserves, and resources to handle any threat that comes our way. This is not a financial crisis. This is just a temporary moment of time that we will overcome together as a nation and as a world.
Okay, so I guess out of all this too, I'll finally give Donald Trump props for something in this. This is the first time I've actually heard him come out and sound assertive about this issue. And that makes a lot of sense. Being assertive here is always a great way to go. I think taking the lackadaisical approach was going to always be a fail. You know, the whole point of trying to curb a pandemic is to do it as soon as possible, not just wait. So at least he's coming out and saying, you know what, we'll get through this, guys. Like, we are all stronger together. Like, and that, you know, this, again, we don't know what this does, but on the other side of this tunnel, I think there's a lot of fun stuff waiting for us. So this is wild stuff. Again, if you take a look at what this did to some of the markets earlier, the S&P 500 did not eat this well, and we knew this was going to be the case. We figured it would be the case for probably quite some time. Now, if we want to try to, and again, most technicals go out the window when you're dealing with a fundamental pandemic, because it's really hard to measure like a black swan, right? We're dealing with something that we don't know what's going to happen, which is a good thing too. I've had, like I said in my other shows, I've had moments like this in the past where we're like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. There's kind of this dark void. Is a very powerful spot to be, because it means his future is not decided yet. We don't necessarily know exactly what's going to happen. The future is still buffering, we could say. It's still loading. So there's a lot of space for us to do something about these situations. Here I'll jump in here in a sec too. Again, what we're looking for is, it's not just the printing of the money that's the disastrous part. The printing of money, the exacerbation of inflation, it could go much further. I really think it could, and I've said this before. The sentiments around this idea come from what I believe to be intellectual capital, right? So that there's a lot of people in random parts of the world that have brilliant ideas that we just haven't been able to get to by financing them and bringing them in, like letting them play with whatever they're interested in building and sharing as a product and service to the world. And I think we could print money up until those people started to see the benefits of what they were producing. This is one of the weird philosophical questions I've been trying to ask myself in my spare time is, what does this look like in terms of where does it tap out? And there was always two spots in my mind where it tapped out. Whereas number one, where people couldn't afford to get food and water on a regular basis anymore. And in a collapse like this, we don't know what's going to happen, right? That's the big unknown. That's why I think we're seeing all this panic right now, right? Whether it's uninformed or intelligent panic doesn't really make a difference at this moment. What's making the difference in the financial markets in the long term is going to be one of the reasons why we bought Bitcoin, was because of that inability to print it. But if the system can still print and print and print because there's so much intellectual capital, then how much further could it print before people can't afford food and water anymore? But if a pandemic brings us down, not affording food and water because you're not working could be commonplace. It might not make a difference. We might, like this could basically devalue the entire world's currency, make the debt easier to manage, maybe no debt at all. I see the very high potential of what do you call it? Essentially smaller nation states coming out and being the normal. I think that's a very likely scenario at this moment, where you're like, wait, we're California, or they're Texas. The United might not see a United States after all of this. Again, this depends on the fundamentals of what happened, but in general, from a mathematical principle, we know that things fundamentally function better in smaller, more decentralized like nations or states or towns or municipalities. They just do a better job of managing their own people, and as a matter of fact, they're more powerful that way because they're not so heavily reliant upon this centralized source. And this is one of the reasons why people like Bitcoin, is that it holds some of these conceptual values that we know to be true in mathematics. We know to be true in the conceptual, and the practical and theoretical, like not just the theoretical conceptual, but the practical as well. That it just functions better. So, this money printing isn't really the thing to be panicked about. It's the whole system collapsing that's really the dangerous thing here. That's where this could go astronomically worse. Now, again, I'm not even going to think about that at this moment, but we'll leave it at that. I guess just from printing money, not don't have to necessarily pay your taxes on time. We're gonna give you free medical services, or at least testing, from the insurance companies. And hey, no flights from Europe to the United States for at least 30 days. That's all huge. And this was in a 9-minute period. I'm really, really baffled, guys. Anyways, I don't want to leave my show too long. I got a beautiful woman here. Thank you. She's making brownies right now. And we're probably going to have a jacuzzi, sit down. I like reading. Maybe I'll read to her or something fun. It'll be fun. Oh, yeah, we're going to have a fire, too. It's going to be a beautiful night, ladies and gentlemen. I just wanted to update you guys, or whatever, rant. I love ranting. That's the whole point of this is for ranting. I'm grateful for the space to share. I'm also grateful for the people who understand that like kind of fringe area of how we produce things. You know, I don't want to overproduce. I don't want to produce it at all, really. I just want to freestyle. I want to improvise. That's what I'm good at. A lot of my like anti-fragility, you can tell I'm reading an Nassim Taleb book this month, right? A lot of my ability to benefit from chaos has come from practicing improvisation, which I consistently put myself into the position where I don't know what's coming next and I have to find a solution by listening and then expressing. It's been a profound moment for that. I think it's really important to understand, you know, and I want to jump back here too. Alex Carpenter said something I thought was really interesting, and I kind of felt it too. He says, it feels like the virus is a spiritual entity. And I don't like to go off into the woo-woo too much, but I definitely felt that there was like a dominant energy coming into the planet now, that there was like it felt like a new wave of something. I didn't like it. Like I don't think anyone's going to like getting a motherfucking virus, right? But you can feel something new interacting with the consciousness. If you are one who likes to sit down and meditate, hang out with nature, I think it's apparent to see and feel that these worlds are blending right now. And look, again, I love studying the scientific world, the Socratic method, coming up with peer-reviewed papers. But there's a part of me that has always been woo. You know, I've been taking psychedelics since I was young. I've been working with plant medicines and what I would consider the spirits of some of these plants since I was young. To have the communication with them is profound, and I'm deeply grateful for that. But it is not for the average person to understand. So when I say these things, please understand I'm coming from a very, very unique perspective of having studied taking psychedelic plants and studying music for most of my life up until this point. So if I talk about like the virus having like an energy I could feel on the planet, it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm like this spiritual thing that's like draping over the planet. It's just that I think consciousness is most often a singularity, and that we get points like what did I call it one day? We were talking about what internet am I connected to? Oh yeah, I wonder if it's going when it was buffering. It was almost as if I don't know how to put it into words. It's best not to try to describe it. For those of you that know what I'm talking about, you'll feel it as well. Again, that's why I appreciate this channel, is that we can just kind of go off on rants. We're working on getting more podcast guests as well, so which is exciting. That way we can, during these times of potential quarantine, we can just hang out, talk with brilliant people, and that's what a lot of this is going to be. I'm going to turn this into like a community hangout session. I'll open up the links to the public Telegram channel again, so we can continue discussions. If you guys are finding cool research, whatever it might be that you want to share, we'll open that back up again, and we'll just start having more dialogue. So I'll bring more guests on the show. I tried to reach out to Bruce Lipton because I thought he would have great insights into some of this stuff. You know, the importance of having a positive mindset during a global pandemic and being well informed. I think that leads to panic turning into what it should, which is informed decision making. You know, for anyone that lives near the ocean, you know that if you get caught in a riptide, you swim to the side. But if you don't, as soon as you feel the fear of what it's like to take in a breath of water, you'll know what the fuck panic is about, and the importance and the severity of the nature of that feeling, right? What you do afterwards is the most important part. That's informed. If you're informed, you'll swim fucking sideways, and you'll swim out of the riptide. If you're not informed, you will panic and then not know what to do, and then you'll do some dumb shit and maybe drown. And that's the difference. That's informed panic versus ill-informed panic, because panic is a sense of a deep natural connection to the life that you have right now, and when you feel that instinct and that urge, that shock of the immune system come in, that panic, it's only when you know what to do next that you can breathe, execute, and move forward without causing a fuss. Anyways, thank you guys. I love you. It's been a great birthday. Super wild. It's just so crazy. We'll see you guys again on the other side. Yep. I should probably make this video title something a bit more relaxed. Hey, like, it's my birthday. I'm going to rant for 40 minutes because that's all this was supposed to be. See you guys.